Marc Lore, the president and CEO of Walmart US e-commerce and founder and CEO of Jet.com. And he's a serial entrepreneur. Marc was appointed in 2016 to lead Walmart's e-com when his company Jet.com was acquired. In this role, he accelerates Walmart's e-commerce growth and customer reach, leading Walmart.com and Jet.com. Marc was named E&Y's Entrepreneur of the Year and Fortune's Smartest People in Technology. Welcome, Marc.
We're feeling solid. First of all, you look great. Are you racing Jerry Rice again? I don't know why you look so handsome.
No, you're not seeing down here. You know, the COVID-19 is for real.
Yeah, the COVID-19 has completely outpaced the freshman 15 for most of my friends and family. Marc, thank you for being on. Obviously, we had a very long session on my podcast, so I know a lot of people in the audience have gotten that context, but I also know a lot of people listen to Marketing for Now that have no clue about my podcast. So 3 minutes on your entrepreneurial journey, context, the 180-second, 240-second version of kids selling baseball cards to where you are now at Walmart.
Yeah, when I was 4 years old, people asked what I wanted to be, the teacher, and I wrote this thing up that said I want to be a farmer because they grow stuff from nothing in crayon, and my mom kept it. And that basically sums up, everything. I love creating stuff from nothing. I did every entrepreneurial business you could think about as a kid: mowing lawns, weeds, newspapers, recycle, wash cars.
By the way, that's pulling weeds in New Jersey, not selling weed as a kid, right? I just want to make sure everybody heard you.
Exactly.
Though you're from Jersey, so anything's possible. Yes.
That's true. And then, went to college, and there wasn't really the startup scene. So when I graduated college, I went to work for a bank. I wish I could have worked for a startup, but it wasn't really a thing. And then worked in banking for about 6-7 years, was doing really well. Knew I didn't want to be in banking forever. The startup scene was starting to heat up. This is late 90s. And decided one day to just quit and start a company, and took some risk, and the rest is history. I've done 4 startups, built and sold 4 startups, and the last 2, one was to Amazon, was Quidsi, it's a holding company for diapers.com, wag.com, sold to Amazon back in 2011, started Jet.com, sold that to Walmart 4 years
Marc,
ago.
Can you give us the 5 seconds version of how you got your inventory for diapers.com, which is a brand a lot of people know?
Yeah, we started diapers.com. Yeah, Procter & Gamble, the Huggies, Kimberly-Clark, Pampers and Huggies are the 2 main diaper brands, could not get them direct from the manufacturer. For 2 years, they would not sell us. So the only way to get diapers was to go to the wholesale clubs and buy them. And so we would go to the wholesale club, buy them, label them, ship them out. The problem was we lost money on every box of diapers we sold, knowing full well that one day, if we got big enough, the manufacturer would sell us direct. And although, they eventually did, but only because, the wholesale club, I think it was BJ's, we would clear them out of every single box of diapers. And they got so frustrated that they called the manufacturer and said, "Could you please sell these guys direct because they're killing you?" And that's the only reason. And the manufacturers said at the time, "We still don't believe in your business model. We don't believe in selling diapers online, but we'll sell you because BJ's is an important client of ours." And that was the only reason. And, fast forward, 10 years later, Procter & Gamble is basically saying that they think that, why would anybody buy diapers anywhere but online? Why would they go in a store? And so it's a very turnaround,
You sell a company to Amazon, and then you come back almost a decade later and you sell one to Walmart. And my question is, how do you bring your entrepreneurialism to the table in those environments, right? One thing I've been impressed with, so, being a fan of your execution from afar, we didn't know each other during this time, but we were doing our things in Jersey, and I would always kind of root for you because there's so few people who are actually operators. By the way, back to real entrepreneurs versus not, a lot of real entrepreneurs give up when they can't get the inventory because the business plan said you have to buy the product. That's what I admired. So when I saw the Jet.com, this is me personally, official, point of view, I was like, okay, what a brilliant, he played the model again. He went to the other place. Is he really going to be able to impact that place? Because unlike the first place, the DNA's matched way more. I'm real curious as a I'm a fan. The way people watch basketball is the way I watch business. We have
Okay.
Jeff Smith coming up soon, who is also back to that whole ecosystem, an incredible executive at J&J. And as he went into his entrepreneurial world, I care about him as a human and was rooting for him, but also curious to see that kind of athlete who dominated in that one game. How's he going to be? Like, what's he going to learn? What's he going to be good at and not good at? I love that shit. I really was like, ooh, can Walmart ingest that organ? Can that body ingest that organ? And what's going to happen? And will Jet.com eventually become Walmart.com? Some of these stories have played out. We've never talked about this, even though in the last couple of years we've gotten to know each other. Talk me through being an entrepreneur operator in such a conglomerate, and what did it play out better than you thought? Like, I'm sure you were judging the body as well. You know, just using your common sense. I already kind of got your quick answer. I'm fascinated by this part because this usually doesn't work out. It's seemingly, I don't have the details, is working out. Talking me through it.
Yeah, no, it's a great lesson for big companies making acquisitions of startups. I think, you know, when we sold the company to Amazon, they were like, hey, you continue to keep doing your thing because that's what you want to do, right? As an entrepreneur, you just want to keep doing your thing. We'll leave you alone. And I think a lot of big companies think that entrepreneurs want to just keep doing their thing and be left alone. That's not necessarily the case. When you have a platform as big as Amazon or as big as Walmart, you want to be able to impact the mothership and really be able to help drive massive change, much bigger than you can do on your own. So in the case of Amazon, they left us alone. They said, keep doing your thing. You guys will be happy just doing your thing, right? And we're like, no, but nothing changed. With Walmart, I had learned that lesson, and talking to Doug McMillon, the CEO at the time, who still is, really started to build you know, the core values of the relationship from the ground up, you know, starting with trust. And we built a lot of trust in a very short period of time. And I told Doug, if you really want you know, Jet and me and the team to help Walmart and help, you know, drive change, then we would be up for that. If you just want to buy us and leave us alone and have us do our thing, we're not interested.
We've done that already, and I don't want to play that dance again.
Exactly. And so when Doug and the board came back and said, hey, we want to give you and your team sort of the keys to e-commerce here at Walmart, we think that, you know, you and the team could really help make a big impact here. And I think that was the key. It was as simple as that. It was basically empowering me and the team to go and make change.
A little bit more of a hardball question. How do you feel it's going on, quote unquote, closing the gap between Amazon.com and Walmart.com? I
mean, I think it's going really well. There's still a big gap there, but if you look at where we were 4 years ago when I joined versus, you know, where we are today, I'm quite proud of the progress the team has made.
Where have you advanced more than you anticipated? You're a smart dude. I've really come to admire you. Where have you advanced more than you thought? And where have you fallen short more than you thought if I went into a time machine and had a glass of wine with 48 months ago, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, as an entrepreneur, when I say fall short, you know, I had, you know, really big, audacious goals set for ourselves and the team when we came in. You know, shoot for the stars and land on the moon sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, I think it was harder than I expected, even though I expected it to be hard. It's hard. It's hard to move an aircraft carrier and change direction. With that being said, you know, I'm surprised at how much we've been able to innovate inside of a big company. You know, we started this thing called Store Number 8, which is an umbrella for startups that we built inside of Walmart. And we've been able to build a bunch of these startups that are wholly owned by Walmart and then infuse them back in the business. And that was a great lesson. I'd recommend it for any big company. You know, it's really hard to build a startup inside of a business when they're being managed by the operators of the business, because
it's two different agendas. That operator cares about short-term results. A startup needs to be like a baby. Those first 3 years, you have to coddle and be patient.
Yes, exactly. So if you can carve it out and give it capital and let it act like a startup, and then in a couple of years, when it's got traction, the business then raises their hand and says, yeah, I would love that to be part of my business. And you're like, okay, here you go. You know, just take the winners. And it's worked out really well. We built some businesses. We infused them back in the business. I think the whole in-home delivery is a great example, delivering directly into people's refrigerators. I think Walmart Plus launch, I think, you know, that was, you know, a way for Walmart to leverage their unique assets to do something that only Walmart can do.
100%.
So
what's your biggest learning from COVID? I'm just really excited to get into your mind for a second here. What's your biggest aha and what's your biggest reaffirmation? Your biggest fuck, I didn't see that. Wow, this is cool. And your biggest, I knew it. I just knew it. And look how obvious it is now.
yeah, I really early on, as soon as, in March, was sort of fascinated with this pandemic and sort of built my own sort of model to predict what was going to happen.
Oh,
and really
yes. Yes, I was getting that text. That was wild, bro. I was like, oh, Mark's way more math nerdy than I think I realized. That was cool. I forgot about that. Was a highlight for me. I was waiting for those texts.
I started it. I mean, I am a sort of math nerd. That's how I started when I was younger. It's math and stuff, that sort of stuff. So I just thought you were rusty. Yeah, definitely rusty. Definitely rusty. No, but sometimes you have to like dig deep. I was reading all kinds of stuff as everybody else was, and you're seeing all these contradictory things. You didn't know what to believe. And I just felt like this was one of those times to kind of dive deep and kind of model and figure it out yourself. And I think that was super helpful for just planning purposes to kind of understand what was going to happen, when, and what the risks and opportunities were there. So I think that was a great lesson in just, knowing when to sort of dive deep into something. It happens in business every day. You're in a leadership position and you're typically, just staying at mile high, and then every once in a while you got to know when is the time to sort of dig deep and rip something apart. And so that was a great lesson for me in doing that. So I had a different perspective on COVID. I kind of had a little bit more knowledge as to what was happening, where it was going. That was.
And what about the biggest affirmation? Like, what have you seen from consumer behavior business that you were like, yep, and I'm glad other people see it now too?
I mean, certainly with e-com, it pulled e-commerce probably forward maybe 3-4 years in terms of that. And I think that'll continue to happen. But there's lots of new habits that people have formed, as a result, trends that were going to happen naturally, but we're going to take a lot longer. And I think in lots of industries, you're seeing that, and being able to recognize, those opportunities is key for any successful entrepreneur thinking about doing a new business. Where's the puck going, as opposed to where it's been? Yeah.
Mark, I really appreciate you. Thanks for figuring out the very difficult technical difficulties you had, which allowed you to jam with us. I really appreciate your time. Continued success.
Yeah. Thanks, Gary.